Pain is an inescapable part of human existence, and for many it feels like a bitter force that must be endured. The struggle with pain is not just physical but deeply emotional and spiritual. In the Christian tradition, the life of Christ is described as one of profound suffering, and followers are called to forsake their own desires and egos. This process is inherently painful, as it requires letting go of the self and the me. Our very nature recoils from this surrender, making pain a central aspect of spiritual growth and transformation. As we begin this journey, let's explore why pain is so deeply woven into the fabric of our lives. Much of the pain we experience is the result of human actions. Throughout history, people have invented tools of suffering: racks, whips, prisons, and weapons. Poverty and overwork often stem from human greed or ignorance, not from the natural world itself. Yet even if all suffering could be traced back to human causes, we still wonder why such suffering is permitted. Why does the world allow so much pain? This question leads us to examine not just the sources of pain, but its purpose and meaning in our lives. Pain is a complex experience with more than one meaning. On one hand, it refers to a specific physical sensation like an ache or a sting, which we recognize even if we don't mind it. On the other hand, pain can mean any experience, physical or mental, that we dislike or find distressing. This broader sense of pain includes suffering, anguish, and adversity. For the rest of our exploration, we'll focus on this second sense: pain as suffering, the kind that challenges us and raises deep questions about life and meaning. True happiness, according to many spiritual traditions, comes from surrendering ourselves to something greater. In Christianity, this means surrendering to God intellectually, emotionally, and volitionally. This act of surrender is not a hardship but a path to joy modeled after the relationship between God the Father and the Son. However, in our current state, this surrender is difficult. We are not just imperfect, we are rebels who must lay down our arms. The process of giving up our self-will is inherently painful, but it is also the first step toward healing and transformation. From childhood, we experience the struggle of self-will. The rage and frustration we feel when our desires are thwarted are early signs of the battle within. Parents and teachers often try to break a child's will not out of cruelty but to teach the necessity of surrender. As adults, our self-will becomes more subtle, finding ways to avoid true surrender. This ongoing struggle is why spiritual traditions speak of dying daily. The process of letting go of the rebellious self is never truly finished and is always accompanied by pain. Mortification, the process of subduing the self, brings its own pain, yet paradoxically, pain can make mortification easier. When we are comfortable, we rarely see the need to change. Pain, however, is unmistakable. It forces us to confront the reality of our situation. Unlike pleasure, which can be ignored, pain demands our attention and compels us to reflect on our lives. In this way, pain becomes a tool for spiritual growth, breaking through our illusions and prompting us to seek deeper meaning. Pain is unique in that it is unmasked evil, impossible to ignore or rationalize away. While we can become numb to pleasure or even to our own faults, pain insists on being noticed. It is often described as God's megaphone, waking us from spiritual slumber and forcing us to confront the truth about ourselves and our world. Even those who do not believe in God find themselves wrestling with the meaning of pain, seeking answers to the deepest questions of existence. Human sense of justice is closely tied to pain. We instinctively feel that those who do wrong should suffer consequences. This sense of retribution is not entirely negative. At its core, it seeks to restore balance and make the wrongdoer aware of their actions. However, when retribution turns into vindictive passion, it becomes destructive. The desire for revenge is a distortion of the natural impulse toward justice, and spiritual traditions warn against letting it take root in our heart. Pain has the power to shatter illusions. When we suffer, we are forced to confront the reality of our situation, whether it is our own wrongdoing or the harshness of the world. This confrontation can lead to rebellion or to search for meaning and reconciliation. Even those who reject religious explanations find themselves grappling with the problem of pain, seeking ways to make sense of suffering and to find hope in the midst of adversity. One of the most persistent illusions is that we are self-sufficient, that we can find happiness and fulfillment on our own. Pain disrupts this illusion, reminding us that our true good lies beyond ourselves. When life is going well, we rarely turn to deeper sources of meaning. But when pain strikes, we are forced to reconsider our priorities and to seek something greater than our own comfort or success. It may seem harsh that suffering falls on good, hardworking people, yet spiritual teaching suggests that God allows this not out of cruelty, but out of humility and love. God desires a relationship with us that goes beyond material prosperity or temporary happiness. Sometimes, pain is the only way to break through our self-sufficiency and draw us closer to the divine. This humility is seen in the willingness to accept us even when we come to God as a last resort. Worldly success can be a greater spiritual danger than obvious vice. Those who are proud, self-righteous, or greedy may find their lives so satisfying that they see no need for change or for seeking God. In contrast, those who struggle, like the outcast or the broken, are more open to transformation. Pain and failure can be gateways to humility and spiritual growth, while success can reinforce the illusion of self-sufficiency. True choice requires awareness. In a perfect world, following God's will and personal happiness would be one and the same. But in our current state, our desires often run contrary to what is truly good. We cannot know if we are choosing the good for its own sake unless it involves some sacrifice or pain. This is why pain is often necessary for genuine self-surrender and spiritual growth. Philosophers have long debated whether actions are truly good only when they are difficult or unpleasant. Kant argued that moral value comes from acting out of duty, even against our inclinations. Aristotle, on the other hand, believed that the virtuous person finds joy in doing good. In reality, both perspectives have merit. The highest act of self-surrender may require pain, but as we grow in virtue, doing good can become a source of joy. Obedience is not just about following rules, it is about freely surrendering ourselves to what is truly good. God's will is not arbitrary but rooted in wisdom and goodness. When we obey, we enact our true role as creatures and begin to reverse the separation caused by self-will. This act of obedience is intrinsically good and is at the heart of spiritual transformation. Suffering is often described as a test, a way to reveal and strengthen our commitment to what is good. The story of Abraham being asked to sacrifice Isaac is a classic example. The test was not for God's knowledge but for Abraham's own realization of his willingness to obey. True obedience is only revealed in action, especially when it goes against our natural desires. Paradoxically, pain and suffering can teach us a new kind of strength, the strength that comes from surrender. When all natural supports are stripped away, we act not from our own resources but from the strength that comes from beyond ourselves. In this way, pain can lead to a deeper, more creative participation in life as we become collaborators in something greater than our own desires. Throughout history, martyrdom has been seen as the ultimate act of self-surrender. The willingness to endure suffering, even death, for a higher purpose is a powerful testament to the transformative power of pain. In Christianity, the sacrifice of Christ on the cross is the supreme example, showing that even in the absence of all comfort, surrender to the divine can be complete. The idea that life comes through death is not unique to Christianity. Nature itself teaches this lesson in the cycle of seeds and crops, and many cultures have rituals and philosophies centered on sacrifice and renewal. Whether through religious rites or philosophical teachings, the message is clear. Transformation often requires letting go, and pain is part of that process. While the doctrine of death and renewal is universal, Christianity offers a unique perspective. It teaches that the ultimate sacrifice has already been made on our behalf, and that we are invited to participate in this transformation in varying degrees. Not everyone is called to extreme sacrifice. For many, the journey involves small acts of self-surrender and intention. The path is made more bearable by the example and support of Christ. Puzzling question remains, why do some good, faithful people seem to escape suffering? The answer is not always clear. Spiritual traditions suggest that the distribution of suffering is mysterious and ultimately rooted in the wisdom and omnipotence of the divine. What matters is not comparing our pain to others, but understanding what suffering can teach us about ourselves and our relationship to the world. It's easy to talk about the meaning of pain in theory, but facing it in reality is much harder. When we experience anxiety, loneliness, or physical agony, the suffering can feel overwhelming. The point is not to pretend that pain is pleasant or easy, but to recognize that it can be a path to growth and transformation, even if it is never truly welcome. Pain is not just an isolated event, it is the center of a system that includes fear and pity. These emotions extend the impact of pain, shaping our responses and relationships. Fear and pity can help us return to obedience and compassion, reminding us of our shared humanity and our need for one another. Even if pain itself has no spiritual value, the emotions it generates can lead to greater love and understanding. Crises, whether personal or global, often serve as wake-up calls. When disaster strikes, our everyday concerns suddenly seem trivial, and we are forced to confront what truly matters. These moments of crisis can strip away our illusions and help us focus on our deepest values and sources of strength. Yet as soon as the crisis passes, we are tempted to return to our old ways, forgetting the lessons learned. Tribulation, ongoing struggle, and hardship is often necessary for true transformation. Without it, we quickly revert to our comfortable routines and forget our dependence on something greater. Pain and difficulty keep us honest, reminding us of our need for growth and change. This is why, in many spiritual traditions, suffering is seen as a necessary part of the journey toward wholeness. While we know much about human pain from our own experience, animal pain remains more mysterious. Our understanding of suffering is shaped by our ability to reflect and make meaning out of it. For humans, pain can lead to growth, compassion, and transformation. For animals, we can only speculate about the nature and purpose of their suffering. Pain, like pleasure, is a double-edged sword. It can lead to bitterness, anger, and cynicism, or it can inspire patience, humanity, and growth. The outcome depends not on the pain itself, but on how we receive and respond to it. Our attitudes and the support of others play a crucial role in determining whether suffering makes us better or worse. Despite its challenges, suffering can bring out unexpected beauty in people. Many who endure great pain develop qualities of fortitude, meekness, and compassion. Even those who seem unpromising can be transformed by suffering, revealing strengths and virtues that might never have emerged otherwise. History is full of examples of individuals whose suffering led to greatness of spirit. Poverty is often seen as the ultimate affliction, encompassing many other forms of suffering. Yet paradoxically, both Christian and secular thinkers have recognized that poverty can also be a source of blessing. It strips away illusions and forces us to confront what truly matters. While poverty should be alleviated, it can also teach lessons of humility, dependence, and solidarity. As we conclude, it's clear that pain is not simply an evil to be avoided, but a profound part of the human journey. It challenges us, shapes us, and can lead to growth, compassion, and transformation. While we may never fully understand why pain exists, we can find meaning in how we respond to it. The journey through pain is one of surrender, learning, and ultimately hope.